Why do you think that you're gonna go from your old reality to your desired reality like this? That's not how it's gonna go. Spoiler alert, that's not how it's gonna go. You probably already know it's not gonna go like that. You know it's gonna go like this. Okay? The reason it has to go like this and not like that is because you have certain shadow parts of yourself in your being that need to be released. So when you set your intentions on going from here to here, first of all, you're gonna have to reach different levels before you get to the ultimate level, like levels in a video game. You're not gonna get to the final round immediately. You have to go through all these different cycles and evolutions of yourself in order to get to the final boss, right? So you're gonna go, before you can get up here, you have to go to the low. Why? The low is going to teach you what you need in order to access the next high. You can't access the high without going down into the low first and finding out whatever it is that you need to find out. Nothing on this planet can resist a non-resistant person. Essentially what that means is when you set your sights on going from here to here, you must be willing and prepared to go into these lows and accept what happens. That's what makes you powerful, and that's what will help you shift along here so quickly. It's not going to feel like it's going to take forever. It's actually going to feel very, very fast, but it's going to feel like your old reality is a million years away at the same time. So when you come down here, the reason you have to come down here, this version of you and this version of you are two totally different energies, and you know that. Why? Because if they were the same, sorry, you should look happy over here. If they were the same, then the realities would look the same. You are your reality. There is no separation except for the separation that our consciousness perceives in this physical 3D plane. But actually, external to this physical 3D plane and the non-physical, everything is one connected. The external and internal are one. You are your external world. It's you. So for you to have a different world, a different reality, you have to be a different version of yourself. That is actually kind of scary. You have to be a different version of yourself. This you and that you are different. What's different? Your mental reality is different, and your energy or your spiritual self or your emotions are different. These two are going to have to change in order to resonate with this physical circumstance. Your mental reality and your energetic reality create your physical reality. So for you to go from here to here, these have to change. The problem is you are unconscious of your subconscious beliefs, first of all, but also your energetic blockers. So that's going to be this real big stuff. When you come all the way down here, and you're feeling triggered, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling really upset, you're feeling almost childlike, insecure, that's because those are energetic triggers to get you to be aware of something within your energy and emotions that you've housed in your body from your traumas that cannot come with you here. They can't come. So God, the infinite intelligence, is going to say, okay, you want to go over here? Well, first we're going to get you to here. Because honestly, guys, if you were to go from here to there, the amount of probably shadow parts of yourself that you would need to release and subconscious beliefs that you would need to rewire would be too much all at once. So it needs to kind of go like this. If it's a big desire, it has to happen in phases. So they'll bring you down here, they'll say, okay, you need to get over your fear of judgment. So we're going to make you feel judged. We're gonna trigger the deepest, most insecure and afraid parts of you that fear judgment the most. Because your first step, for example, is you need to start posting online. So let's say you want to be a YouTuber. Sorry, I know that's literally my own example, but that's an easy example. You want to be a YouTuber. You would have to get comfortable first with just speaking on camera and having that on your social media in some capacity. So for you to actually start that, you need to release the emotional block in your body of the fear of judgment. This, by the way, we're just talking here about energy, right? Mental is going to be your subconscious rewiring. I have a whole video on how to rewire your subconscious mind. that's going to be about that. Today we're going to be talking about the energy aspect of it, because it's the unseen component. So if you want to start getting over here, your first step, your first physical action is going to be, okay, I make a TikTok and I post a TikTok video. Before you can even start doing that, you might be procrastinating, you might be wondering why, you might kind of know, you feel nervous about it. If you're really, really asking for this thing, you will eventually be sent something, some situation, some thought, something external, something will happen that's going to trigger that part of you that fears judgment the most. And it's going to get you to the core of your being, and it's probably going to be very uncomfortable. But what it's going to do is it's going to force you to realize what that is that's blocking you. It's going to force you to understand that pain. And when you understand it, you can release it. And I'm going to tell you how to understand it and how to actually release it in a minute, so when the stuff does come up, you can deal with it. But I need you to first know that this is all that's happening. You're not being singled out by God or by the universe. You're not being punished. You are being shaped into exactly who you need to be, so that you can have exactly what you're asking for, even if it seems painful, okay? So pay attention to how you get triggered once you set your sights on something new, because none of that is random. None of it. So what'll happen then is you go through, you release, you finally just sit in that discomfort, and you sit through the difficult emotion and you lean into it, you sit with it long enough to understand it, it releases, I'll tell you about that in a second, and then out the other side you'll be like, bing, you'll come up here. All of a sudden you are just no problem posting, you've overcome that. So you can cruise on this for a while, and then you realize, okay, my next step is this thing. Whatever resistance you have to that thing, you're going to be, again, sent something, some emotion, some trigger to bring to light whatever energetic block you have to this next phase. And it's going to look like, oh, why is my life falling apart? Why is this challenge happening? It's literally because of this, guys. It's because of this, okay? It's a fucking game, and these are levels, and there's challenges you have to pass in order to become the character who can access the next level of the game. That's all it is. It's not as serious as your mind is thinking or telling you it is. Even if it looks like everything is not working and falling apart, it's actually falling together. It's exactly what needs to happen. So then you overcome that, you come up here, you're cruising, and so on and so forth. The closer you get to the real materialization of your big desire, usually it's going to be like your big, deep childhood trauma, wounds, insecurities, all of those. You guys, I started personally, fear of judgment, I had all these itty bitty things. I had like my big deep wounds. When those came up, I felt like a child. You would not even believe, you guys. Like, I was jealous, I was bitter, I was desperately insecure, and I had already done so much inner work. But the thing was, I was aligning with something so big that was a dream for so long that that stuff had to come out of me. I couldn't keep riding the wave, and I couldn't keep ascending with that stuff really deep down in my unconscious self, okay? So it's stuff that obviously I thought I got over from like my teenage years, and I thought I was just moved on and evolved from that. But you would be shocked, you guys, the stuff that still is harbored in your body and in your energy. And then it'll come up and you'll be like, wow, what is this? Why do I feel like this? You will notice, ask yourself where you felt like it before. You'll know it's something that you've carried from your past, always. It's something that you just haven't processed yet. And your body is so intelligent, it's just trying to keep you going, it's trying to keep you in survival. So it's gonna just push that away into the dark until a trigger event happens that's gonna trigger it. But until that happens, you're gonna think it's not there, which is why the trigger needs to happen in the first place. You're not being punished, you're being made aware so that you can get exactly what you want, okay? So when I had that time where I was so like, and there was nothing really to like make me insecure. I was just feeling so irrational, so insecure. I had so much rage like I never had in years. I thought I was so over that. I literally felt like a teenager again. Why? Because that teenage, angry, bitter part of me that was so unconscious, they couldn't come to that next level. And obviously after I sat through that and rode that wave, I got a massive shift energetically and a massive clearance of that blockage. And then I had capacity to actually hold that next level, because it is a game of capacity. So whatever desire you have to be capable of holding that desire in your energy and being very comfortable with it. So all of these shadow parts of you, all these unconscious traumas and emotions, those are the contradictions in your energy that are going to stop you and repel you from being able to actually hold that which you desire. And until you clear those, you can't hold it, you can't have it. It's like you have a cup and you want to keep pouring water into it, you want the desire, but there's holes in the cup, right? You're not going to be able to hold it. You have to become aware of those holes that are in your cup. You have to seal them, which I'm going to tell you how to do in a second, and then you're going to be able to hold what you need, right? Then you're going to be able to grow that cup. So that's the journey. And people, it breaks my heart because people think, oh my God, it's not working. Oh my God, I feel worse. Oh my God, like everything just is falling apart, and it was stupid for me to even think of this, and logic takes over, and you're like, this isn't even logical, it's not who I am, it's fine, I'll just go back to how I was. Honey, this is exactly what needs to happen. You're being made aware of the stuff that you've got to overcome, otherwise your energy won't be able to hold your desire, okay? So let's get into how this can actually be overcome. One of my favorite books is Florence Shin, The Game of Life and How to Play It. And she talks in that book about how dawn, it's darkest before the dawn, and dawn will break as soon as you learn to see in the dark. So that's what we're going to be learning today. How can you see when you're in the darkness, in the shadow? That's when dawn breaks for you, okay? Not when you're getting lost in the dark and getting lost in the shadow and becoming it. When you actually can go into the shadow with love and with acceptance, dawn will break, okay? So let's talk a little bit about the shadow first of all. I don't think I've actually even spoken about this. I'm sorry if my sound isn't good. The mic is just being weird. So your shadow self is also, it's just the unconscious parts of the self. I'm going to talk about it on an energetic level because you've kind of got a mental and an energy shadow, if that makes sense. So we've got the energy of your being and then your mental reality, which is your unconscious thoughts and stuff like that. So you are consciousness. And you when you came here, you just had pure consciousness. You were a whole pure being. Then traumas and events happen that cause your consciousness to split and fragment into two parts, okay? So you've got your vulnerable part, and then you've got your protector part. The vulnerable part of you that is hurt in moments of distress that goes unresolved, okay? That's going to be a key thing in a minute that we get into. In moments of distress that is not resolved in the moment, your psyche, your consciousness is trying to cope with the fact that this distress happened and you had this vulnerability, you had this hurt because you didn't get a solution. So this is going to be, for example, if you felt neglected, if you felt unheard, and nobody ever came in and said to you, oh, hey, by the way, I'm sorry, I didn't listen to you, I didn't mean to, that you did nothing wrong. That was resolved, so that's fine. But if it's unresolved, your consciousness needs to cope with that distress. Your psyche needs to cope with that distress. So what it does is it will cause a split in your consciousness, and you will have a vulnerable aspect and you will have a protector aspect of the self. The vulnerable aspect is the part that we push into the shadow. This becomes your shadow self. The protector aspect is the part that you identify as. Why? This is the part that you're going to identify as keeping you safe. Okay? So if, for example, you used to you used to sing all the time, right? Just for example, you used to sing really loudly all the time. You loved singing, you loved just like dancing, singing and performing. And somebody scolded you for that. Somebody made you so embarrassed for that. They criticized you and nobody ever came in and told you, oh, hey, that was out of line. Like, don't listen to them, you're fine. So it was unresolved. Your being is going to try to protect you from ever feeling that hurt again. So what's going to happen is the vulnerable side to you that was hurt is the side to you that was expressive, that was singing, that was dancing. that vulnerable part of you is going to get put in the shadow, and it's going to be, it is way too embarrassing, shameful, and hurtful for me to express this. So you're going to push that away, and the protector side of you is going to be the one that says, be quiet, don't shout too loud, don't sing in public, you know, fit in. And that is going to be what you identify as. What breaks my heart is that a lot of us have innate things, talents, desires, deep down in our authentic selves that we wouldn't even really consider if they don't go in alignment with the protector identity, okay? So this can come in more subtle ways than that. So for example, if you had a situation where you were validated for your achievements, your protector could be someone that works really hard and overworks, right? And it's to cope with the vulnerability of not feeling good enough unless you're told that you've achieved something. So we all have hundreds, thousands of splits in our consciousness. We've all got vulnerable parts and we've all got protector parts. And the protector parts are the identity, because we want to be an identity that we think is going to keep us safe, accepted, and validated in the world, right? So you can see how this can be tricky. If, for example, you had that situation where you were shunned for speaking up or using your voice, you are associating hurt and vulnerability with that. So that's going to be a shadow part of you that you push in the dark and you don't express. And you are going to identify as someone who is, you know, a good girl who plays along, who doesn't shout too loud, who's very amenable or whatever. That's going to be part of your identity. So if, for example, it is your life's purpose to be a singer, you're probably, if this happened young, you're not even going to be able to consider that for you. And this is why so many people don't know their purpose. They don't know what their path is. It's because it conflicts with their identity. You can't see something for yourself if it doesn't correspond with your identity, because you cannot see beyond that. It's like a blindfold. I tried to say 3 words at once there. It's like a blindfold. Your identity is a blindfold. Your protector identity specifically is a blindfold. And the only reason, this is the key, you guys, the only reason the protector exists is because the hurt side exists. If this part of you that was hurt in that moment immediately had an adult, you know, someone they feel safe with, come in and say, hey, no, that was so out of line, that wasn't true, there's nothing wrong with you, sing all you want, you should be singing to your heart's desire if that's what you want to do, and there's nothing wrong with that, don't listen to that person, you're okay, you're safe, go for it. This wouldn't happen, and this part of your identity wouldn't exist, because it wouldn't be trying to protect something, because there'd be nothing to protect, because this part of you would feel safe to exist, okay? So this whole thing is rooted in safety. Your whole shadow and your whole identity is about safety. So you've got your identity, like who you are being in this world mostly, and what you think you are and you like and you don't like, and your strengths and your weaknesses and how you act. And then you've got the unconscious repressed parts of yourself that you don't really touch or bring up, and you probably don't really even know about. If you felt rejected as a child, okay, until you achieved something. So let's say you didn't get any attention from your parents unless you had like an achievement or an accomplishment or some progression of some kind to show. They just didn't have the capacity to show you the kind of validation and love you needed unless you were physically showing, oh, look what I did, okay? There is a part of you that felt so unsafe, being unseen, unheard, and not being accepted. We have a deep-rooted primal fear when we're young, especially, of being abandoned and of being rejected and of not being accepted and validated by our parents and our family. So that's where most of this stuff comes from, right? It's deep stuff. And it's that feeling of not being safe. So we need to feel safe when we're younger, and this is how our being makes us feel that way. It's like, okay, well, if I need to feel safe, so I need to make sure that I don't feel like I'm not accepted and loved. So I need to make sure I'm achieving, okay? Because then that means I will be safe. I will get that safety. I will know that I will get validation, and that means I won't be cast out or left alone or abandoned or whatever. So all of this stuff is very deep. It's very deep-rooted stuff. I feel the need to also say, when you're young, your child brain. This is just going to be one thing that I know most of us have, you guys. It's such a deep thing, and it's not directly relevant, but it is actually part of this. So while we're in this, I'll just explain it. When we're young also, the child brain cannot comprehend everything going on in the household, in the world, you know, the bills that are unpaid, the stress that the parent is under, whatever relational dynamics are going on external to the child. The child thinks usually the default mode is there's something wrong with me. If there's something wrong out here, if I'm not getting enough eye contact, if I'm not getting enough love, approval, if I'm not, you know, reciprocated, validated, anything, if my parents are just not around, or if they get mad, or if they're fighting with each other, or if one of them leaves, right? The child brain can't see the big picture. And actually, if a child were to consider, okay, there's something wrong with the parent and there's something wrong with the world at large, that's actually a scarier option for you as a child, because that means the people that you're relying on for your survival, you can't rely on. And that is way too scary for you as a child. And so what you do instead is you say, there's something wrong with me, right? So this is a really common split that happens. You make it mean there's something wrong with you. I'm not good enough is the thing you come up with. And then the identity is, if I work hard enough, if I achieve enough, if I do this, and this enough, if I'm pretty enough, if I'm funny enough, if I'm whatever, and if it comes up in so many ways, then I'll be good enough, and then I'll be safe. That feels better. Why? Because it's something you can control. It's something you can control, right? Maybe someday, if I do enough, that means I can fix it, and this issue, this pain will go away, right? And I'll be validated and I'll be safe. So you guys, a lot of this shame that we all carry in our solar plexus from childhood is just from this, like, your young self essentially just trying to be safe. And remember me saying that. All your shadow is your consciousness fragmenting, putting certain things in the dark and bringing out other aspects to keep those things safe. That's all it is. And that's basically what your whole identity that you identify as is based around. Safety. And that's fine, that's all well and good until you start trying to traverse to a new identity and these things and stuff are brought up from the dark and you realize you're still holding all of these hurts. They were never resolved. You brought in protectors to keep them safe, but that didn't get rid of them. They're still there, okay? So that's that. Now we're going to talk about how to actually release the shadow parts. This is going to be the part where you guys can get excited because this is going to be the stuff that really sets you free. Okay, so you've got a shadow, right? We've all got a shadow. Cool. It's the unconscious parts of you that have been pushed in the dark, right? There's so much you can do to release your shadow, but the first thing I want to tell you is when you get a trigger, don't become the trigger, don't become the emotion. Know that that is just a part of you coming up to be felt so it can be cleared. So there's a few different phases of releasing this, okay? Remember me saying the overall thing is these parts of you feel super unsafe. Even if it's anger, even if it's jealousy, even if it's resentment, even if it's insecurity, even if it's like fear, at the root of all of those shadow parts is unsafety mostly, okay? Not feeling safe. So your job now, with your awareness that you have now, is to come in and make those parts feel heard, loved, and safe. That is the equivalent of you being able to see in the dark, going into your shadow with love. That is the light in the dark that you need in order for dawn to break. So you've got your shadow self. I just want to touch one more thing. This is super important. So this is going to be the practice that you can do when your emotions are flaring up and you feel a particular part of you coming to the surface. I want you to notice where in your body you feel this. God, this is a terrible... So these are your energy centers, by the way. I don't even know if you can see this. These are your energy centers. So you've got your root, your sacral, your solar plexus. Where am I? Oh my god. Your heart, throat. You've also got your third eye and your crown, but for the purposes of the shadow, really it's in these are the main ones. That is so messy, I don't even know why I bothered. You've got these chakras up to here are where you're going to store most of these shadow parts of you, okay? So it actually, the trauma and the event and that vulnerable part of you that had to be pushed in the dark actually lives in your energy in your body, and it's in one of your energy centers. How cool is that? So I suppose it's not that cool, but it is cool when you have awareness of it and you realize that you've got so much power to actually just change it with your awareness. So when you feel an emotion come up, let's say it's shame or guilt or regret, you're probably going to feel that in your solar plexus, okay? But just notice in your body where you feel it. It's probably going to be in your stomach. And if you, for example, feel like a deep-rooted hurt or loss, heart. If you feel like you're embarrassed of speaking up or you can't speak up, throat, and so on and so forth, right? If it's a threat to your safety, it's going to be your root. If it's like a lot of anxiety, probably going to be your root. Could be your heart and your solar plexus as well. Could be a number of things. However, when the feeling comes up, you have to notice where you're feeling it in your body. And then what you can do is you can picture it as a literal piece of you. I'm actually going to give you an example. So it's furry, so I don't know if this is going to help your visual, but you can imagine, so let's say it's in your heart, okay? You feel the feeling. Maybe it's like really deep sadness, right? And you feel it in your heart. You feel it here or you feel it here. You want to just get in the habit of really tuning into your body when you feel these emotions come up, because we're so just running away from things all the time. This is the healing. You have to sit with yourself. You got to love yourself enough to sit with yourself, no matter how ugly the emotion is. You want to close your eyes and take a few deep breaths and tune into where you're feeling it. And when you can really feel where it is, then you want to imagine like pulling that piece out of you. Do this with your eyes closed. There's still a cord between you and that part of you, but you just want to let it float there and sit with it and listen to it. That is all it ever wanted. It's all it ever needs. It was to be heard and was to be loved. That's your only job. You don't need to judge it. You don't need to change it. You don't need to criticize it. So let's say, for example, you've got a feeling of intense sadness, okay? You pull it out and you hold it here and you say, what's wrong? What's going on? And this part of you says, I've never been treated right in my life and I've never been loved and it's not fair and I lose everything. Let it speak. Let it speak. Your only job is to listen to everything it has to say. Hear it out, no matter how irrational it is. No matter how, you would normally never speak that way. You would normally never be that negative. You just got to let it vent. Let it say what it needs to say. And if you're feeling emotion, let that emotion come out. Okay? Then you want to just say, I hear you. Oh, I didn't mean to hit it. You don't want to hit it. You want to say, I hear you. I love you. I understand you. I'm so sorry that I left you alone and I will never leave you alone again. I'm here for you, okay? So this is the love that you need to give to your shadow, and this is going to heal those parts of you unlike anything else. It's all that these parts of you ever wanted and ever needed, okay? So when you do that, what eventually you're going to realize is this part of you is just some part that needed reassurance. It just needed to feel safe. And now you can give it that, right? You have the power to do that. So after that, you will notice after you speak, I love how I'm like stroking it. Like it's my pet, but then you want to be loving it. You will notice, you can also picture, this might be like a very childlike part of you. When you picture it, it might just be a black dense ball of energy, but you can then give that part of you, after you've given it that love and reassurance, you'll probably notice it might change color, it might become lighter and brighter, it might become lighter in density, okay? If it's a child, its demeanor might change and lighten up. And then what you can do is you can say, how can I make you feel safe enough to let this go and to never need to worry again? And you can tell that part of you whatever it needs to be reassured. You can say, hey, we're grown-ups now, we look after ourselves. I'm always going to look after you, I'm always looking out for you. Whatever you need to say to that part of you, it's hard to think of an example now without giving you a specific example other than sadness, but there will maybe be specific things depending on what that part of you endured and what it's telling you. You can say, look, I'm going to look out for you and this is how. You never need to worry about this again. You can let go of this fear, whatever it is. And that part of you, you can feel the relief. You can feel them let go. And then what you can do is give them something new to focus on, because it's still a part of you, okay? They're not just going to disappear. So you can say, okay, instead of focusing on, how people let us down, you can focus on how good it feels for us to open up and give love to people, right? Something like that. Give it something more supportive and new to focus on, okay? Because that's a piece of your energy. Then you want to just visualize that part of you going back inside your body. Let it move around wherever it needs to go. Maybe it doesn't want to live here anymore. Maybe it does. Let it move all around your body, and then let it sink back into your energy, okay? That is a shadow work. It's a meditation. I have it in my community if you want to check it out. It's a meditation that you can do. You don't need to do it guided. You can do it by yourself just by doing what I just told you. You can do that 10 times a day. It's very quick, but it's so powerful. And the biggest part of that is the love that you're giving to that part of yourself, because it's all it ever needed, okay? So that's going to be the kind of practice, practically. You feel it in your body, you give it some love, and you give it a new job, you tell it what it needs, and then you let it go. So that is going to heal, guys, 99%. I wish they taught this in schools, because this stuff is amazing, guys. The stuff that I've overcome with just that practice alone would blow your mind. So other than that, what have we got? Right. When you're in your low point and you're down here, like I just showed on the graph, and you're in the kind of deep pit and all the emotions are coming up, there's one thing I really need you to not do, and that is repress, okay? So whatever order feels intuitively right for you to do these things in, do them. Maybe you want to do this awareness practice first, but maybe you might want to do this other thing I'm about to tell you first. The other thing you can do is actually physically release emotional blocks through movement. So this one is amazing if an emotion is very overpowering, if you're very angry, if you're very upset, you want to cry, you want to scream, you want to shout, you want to let all that emotion come up to the surface and let yourself release it. When you look at animals, when they get into a distressful situation, they shake, right? They shake the trauma out of their body. They don't hold that in their body. But we go through all these stressors, guys. Life, so many things happen, and we harbor all of these things. If you think about your life and you think about all the things you dealt with that were never resolved, you're holding those in your body, okay? So somatic shaking things off, right? Dancing, those are really powerful just in general, in day-to-day stressors. But when it comes to big triggers that are coming up, so for example, a very angry part of you, it is so incredibly powerful for you to go and scream into a pillow. Go out to a field and shout everything you never got to say, especially if you've got a throat block, right? Go and shout and scream and say everything you never got to say. You can shout it into your voice notes. You can write a letter, say everything to that person who's making you so angry, that person who hurt you so much. Write everything you never got to say, or scream it out loud, okay? You want to let these emotions come out of you. Let yourself express them. You can also do this through exercise. So this is something that I did unintentionally, and I really have noticed the difference since I've stopped lifting weights so much. I can feel I need to be tuned into my body and when I actually need to push some more, because sometimes it can be super helpful if you're super stressed. So I used to channel my rage, because I used to have so much rage, you guys, like insane amounts of rage, just for all different stuff that has happened in my life. Rage was like my predominant shadow, if you will. And I joined a gym when I was 17 and I channeled all that rage into lifting, right? And I ended up powerlifting and everything. That's how mad I was. No, I loved it, but I would remember, like, I would obviously lift some days and I'd be happy and it ended up being a sport, but I always used it to channel my emotions. I remember after my first breakup, I was devastated and heartbroken, but also my one of my biggest emotions then, again, was rage. I went straight into the gym and I was like deadlifting 100 kilo for max reps, and I let the rage consume me. I was throwing that weight around like an insane person, and I just let myself do it. I let myself do it, and the release that I felt from that, you guys, this is the thing. We don't act like normal animals. We are actually animals as well as spiritual consciousness beings, okay? I know I always say we're God, creative, infinite beings. We are, but we're also in an animal body, and we need to let our body release these emotions or they're going to hold on to them. So let yourself punch, scream, smash a plate, smash a glass, throw a chair. Obviously don't include other people or injure anyone or damage anyone's property, but find an outlet. If you've got rage, especially, rage is really good for that. If you've got sadness, cry, let that out. Let yourself purge all of those housed emotions, especially when they come to the surface. Do not push them away, especially when you're in this low phase and you're getting triggered. Let the trigger come up and let yourself act it out, you know, let yourself feel it and see it to the end. Let yourself have a tantrum if you need to. That's what you need to do. That's why it's coming up, and you will feel so much clarity after that. If you feel you don't have any rage or anything particular at the surface that you want to just purge through this exercise and you want to channel into the movement, you can actually use movement to strengthen your aura or strengthen your energy around something. So for example, I started going for runs and saying to myself, I am fucking unstoppable. Even if I was having a bad day, I would put on some like assassin style music, I would sprint, and I would say, I am fucking unstoppable, I am fucking unstoppable. And maybe at the beginning, I didn't really believe it and I didn't really want to do it, but it starts to shift your energy on a cellular level when you really say it with passion and you're moving your body like that. It changes your whole aura, and that will change your life. When you start your day in that state and it really seeps in and you've got so much energy towards something, instead of just doing like a few hip thrusts and say, I don't really want to be here, I'm tired, do the hip thrusts and say, I am a fucking machine, I am unstoppable, I can conquer anything that comes my way today. That will get into your mind because you're creating energy around it at the same time. So it gets into your cells, it gets into your being, okay? You'll carry that with you all day. It'll change your life. So that's just a little tip I wanted to give you as well. I think I learned that from Tony Robbins, I think. He used to do that, I believe. He used to run and say, I'm fucking unstoppable. Even if he was having the worst day ever, he would say, I'm fucking unstoppable. So that's the other side of like somatic healing. Yes, use it to channel your rage and release your emotions, but you can also use it to wire in new emotions of power, of strength, of courage. Okay, this is my last tip. Because progress isn't linear, what you're focusing on is also not going to be linear. So a lot of people make this mistake, and like, this is insane. I just feel like I've cracked the code here, you guys. So we have your old reality and your desired reality. And we've got you. We'll come back to this. So you want to go here. Let's say your desired reality is you are a millionaire, you're a successful business owner, you're running your dream business, you live in Hawaii, and you have a tan, you have the body of your dreams, you've got best friends that love you and support you, you're in an amazing relationship, okay? So that's your desired reality, you drive a G-Wagon, all that good stuff. This is your old or current reality. If you're miles away from this, and you're trying to embody this version of you, right? You know, you've probably learned and you know that your being, if you've watched any of my videos, you better know, because I told you so many times, your energy is what creates your reality. They are not separate. The separation is an illusion of this 3D experience. They are actually one and the same. You are your reality. Your energy is your reality. You can't have anything in your reality that is not a match to your energy, okay? So if you want a new reality, you have to be a new energy. It's the only way, it's the only vessel, it's the only vehicle to a new experience. It's your being, it's your state. It's your mental state and your energetic state. That is your vessel to your physical reality. So you're probably thinking, okay, this is my desired reality. The version of me there is quite far away probably than the version of me here, right? You're probably thinking, okay, That version of me is a CEO, and they go to meetings and they're a leader and this, and this. And they've already got a 6-pack, so they're already doing, you know, 3 hours in the gym a day or whatever. So not that that should be a goal, but you know what I mean, okay? So you're probably picturing a version of you in this reality, if you've ever done this before, that is so far away feeling that you probably then get overwhelmed, and then you don't really know what to do. You maybe try something, but it doesn't feel like you're doing the right thing because it still feels so far away from this that you get overwhelmed and you kind of just stop and default to your old self. You lack clarity on what you can do now, and that's the issue, because you lack clarity on what you can do to get you to here. You're not trying to get to here straight away. You're not. You're trying to get to the first level up, right? So for you to get here, there's going to be certain things you need to do at this juncture. And when you get here, you can create a new list of things that you need to do and embody to get to this juncture. And then you're going to have the clarity and awareness to set new things that are going to get you to here. So let me give you an example. This is an exercise I do with all of my clients and everyone in my community. The avatar exercise, I've mentioned it on here before, is so powerful. So you want to get this version of you in your desired reality. So with your dream outcome on a piece of paper, you want to say, me with dream job, me with whatever amount of money, me in my dream relationship, okay? Write them down on a piece of paper. You in your desired reality, a stick figure. You don't just want to focus on drives a G-Wagon, makes $100,000 a month. You want to focus on their character. You want to focus on their energy. You want to focus on how they think and the energy they embody, because that is the vessel, okay? That is your vehicle to your desire, and that's what you can actually control. So you want to think about, how do they think? How do they respond to negativity? How do they respond to criticism? Do they gossip? How do they dress? How do they overcome adversity? How do they speak? How do they make other people feel? What are their habits? What are their routines? Do they keep their word? Are they more loving? So many little tiny energetic adjustments. I want you to pay attention to those. Those little adjustments are your ticket, and they're the things that you can focus on right now. So if you're getting overwhelmed, and if this sounds like you and you've been here, that's what you focus on. That's what you can control right now. And trust me, guys, I've had people come and do this, and it's the most specific, strange things. Like, okay, this version of me has darker hair. This version of me wears a trench coat. This version of me is, you know, drinking juice every day. This version of me, whatever. It's going to be such random specific things. Like I always get, whenever I do this exercise, I try to do it every month. It'll always be something so new and so specific. And it's going to give you something that you need in your energy in order to start traversing towards that timeline. You're not going to know how the link is going to link in. It's just going to feel right on an energetic level. So that's the stuff that you work on. That's the work. That's your focus, not on the outcome, not on the external thing, but on the characteristics that you can control right now. That's going to be the vehicle that starts moving you there. So when you're here and you do this avatar exercise, with your awareness that you have here, you're going to maybe have some things that maybe seem silly, like walking, reading, you know, smiling, interacting with strangers, being more courageous, being more open, being more consistent, all that stuff. So you're probably going to have very basic stuff here and you're thinking, oh God, this is not really going to do anything. But when you do it, darling, you might come down here and have some shadow and limiting beliefs and stuff to purge. But when you keep showing up as this version, this is going to be your anchor of what to come back to and what to focus on. You're going to ascend to the next level up here. And when you get up here, you're going to have such a different perspective that you're going to intuitively know what to embody next. So the problem is, you here can't know really absolutely what this version of you is and what they're doing and how they see things, because you're not them yet. So you're becoming them on this journey. And you become them by focusing on what you can become right now, not by worrying about what you don't know yet as this level. So you do what you can now with what you have. You focus on just being the character that you need to be right now. That's going to get you to the next level. Once you go down into your shadow and you purge and all that, you're going to get up here. And now you're going to see, oh my God, holy shit, this version of me would also do this. And they would also be like this. And they would, this is another big thing, they would let go of this. Oh my God, you guys, how have I not mentioned this? The stuff that you're going to realize that you have to let go of is also part of this exercise. So when you look at this version of you, you're going to look at them and go, they would not be worrying about this thing. They would not be holding on to this friendship, or they would not be holding on to this income stream, right? Or this lower level income stream. So you're not going to maybe see in the beginning some stuff, but maybe there's some stuff straight away, like a couple of things. Okay, they wouldn't be holding on to this. They maybe would let go of this. But then you embody as much as you can. You come up to the next level. Your awareness then expands. Now you can see, oh my God, they would let go of this and they'd let go of this. You're taking that blindfold off slowly but surely. The more you're embodying this energy of what you can do right now. And then you're going to see, okay, I'm going to drop this, I'm going to drop this, and I'm going to bring this in, right? Again, you go on this journey, you come up here. By the way, guys, it's not going to be a big dip in your shadow every single time. I'm not trying to manifest that for you. That's just a warning as to the energetics of what can happen, okay? So then you embody again, you come up again, and then you've got an even higher perspective. And over time, very quickly, like I had a client literally today, her first avatar was making juice and going out in nature and all these like energy shifts and more outspoken and speaking more clearly and changing her hair color, right? And in the beginning, it's like, this seems a bit silly, but you know, intuitively, that's what felt right to her. Now her avatar, with her level of awareness that she has, is so different, and she has so much more clarity on things that old version of her never had. But she had to be this version first. You have to step where you can with where you are right now, no matter how silly those things seem. So now she's got, you know, find an angel investor, join an investors club, like all this stuff that's so much higher level. This version of her wasn't ready for that, but being this next version made her ready for this version and made her see what the next step was. You can't keep trying to see 10 steps ahead. You look at where your feet are and the next step. And when you step on the next step, in terms of the energy you're embodying, then you're going to see the next step, okay? Don't worry about it yet, okay? So then you're going to get up here. And the thing is, right here, it's not going to be, you know, starting to put money aside for a G-Wagon. But there's going to be a time, there's going to come a month where the energy that you're embodying next is the version of you who puts aside money for the G-Wagon. You're going to get there, okay? You have to start where you are, though, and don't get overwhelmed. So this is why I'm saying, it's not linear. It's going to be up and down, but wherever you're at, you need to focus on doing what you can with what you have and taking radical responsibility for your energy right here, right now. Getting super clear on this version of you and their energy, how you perceive it right now, and what you can control right now. And that's what's going to start moving you and shifting you towards this version of you. I heard a quote once, I think it was from Dan Coe, a YouTuber. Discipline comes from clarity. And I think a lot of people struggle to get to their desires or make a change in their energy because they don't know. They're so confused on what they're even aiming for. If you don't know what you're shooting for, of course you're just going to get lost and be fumbling around in the dark, and you're not going to know what to do, and you're going to succumb to old habits and your old identity. You have to have clarity. That's what's going to move you. That's what's going to drive you. That's what's going to dictate how you show up every day. When you get super, super clear at each phase of your life, what the avatar version of you is embodying, okay? What you're aiming for in your character and in your energy. That clarity is a secret weapon, and it's going to be the vehicle that gets you there so much faster than everything else. Clarity on the character you're embodying at this next level and becoming that next level self, okay? Letting go of the outcome. And then when your shadow comes in, accepting, allowing, and moving through your shadow with love. That's what's going to release it. And then that's how you get to the next level.